Once again, I promise, as promised, right on time. Governor Mitch Daniels is on line 3. Hey, Governor, thanks for calling in today.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, listen, I've got your book in my hand right now, and I was just reading read some of it, got it all marked up real nice, but the jacket kind of says it all, and it says, during your tenure, you turned a $700 million deficit into a $1 billion surplus, and that Indiana is a model of good and efficient governance. Can this book and that idea be taken to a national level?
Well, sure, by somebody, and I don't think that anything we did was magic or much more than common sense with a little bit of fortitude mixed in. Part of the message of that book, Jim, is I don't think our national politicians on either side give the American people enough credit. One side thinks they're helpless victims, and they got to make all the decisions for us. And then the other side, I just think acts sometimes like they can't handle the facts and the truth, and I don't agree with that. When you look back over the last 7 years in Indiana, we've had to make a lot of tough calls. We've tried a lot of new things, and people have taken it in. They understand you can't do absolutely everything you'd like to do for absolutely everybody all at the same time if you can't afford it. And I do believe that the sort of things that we've tried to do and the reforms and changes do have national parallels.
Speaking of national parallels, if we were to take Indiana, and let's just say that either you or somebody were able to take this idea, I guess it's not a new idea, but it's, you guys are implementing it, take it to the national level. What would you be able to look back at Indiana? You just mentioned a tough call. What was, like, in putting your plan in place, what were, say, one or two of the top tough calls?
Well, clearly, bringing spending down in line with revenues, not continuing to spend more than you take in, and the natural political or politicians' impulse is just to say yes to people, try to make them happy, and leave the problems and the debts to somebody else. That's what's got us in this really serious national corner we're in. So we didn't do that. And again, Hoosiers, a big majority of them understood. They do the same thing in their own family, their own business, and they expected their employees, us, me, and state government to do the same. There's a lot of other things. We got a national infrastructure crisis. We attacked ours in Indiana. We found a way to bring some private money in and augment that, so we didn't have to borrow and didn't have to tax people to death at the gas station. And that clearly the national government could move in that direction too. The biggest thing, I guess, Jim, would be we've just worked for almost 7 years to make Indiana, make it more affordable to hire people in Indiana, make it easier and quicker. And the national government for a long time has been making it harder to hire people, and especially the last few years. So I do hope they'll realize the greater wisdom of supporting the private sector instead of regulating, taxing, and beating up on it all the time.
Governor, in Chapter 2, The Red Menace, you show a great grasp of the markets, and you outline basically a week or a week and a half in which the entire financial system, as we know it, could unravel. Are we really at the point right now where people should be that fearful of something like this happening?
I put that little nightmare scenario together with some, very serious economists that I know, Jim, not because I think it's probable, but on the other hand, it's not impossible. And, yeah, sure, I was trying to get people's attention. If we don't get real about the debts we have, absolutely, this isn't politics, this isn't philosophy, this is arithmetic. It absolutely is going to stunt our economy and permanently lower living standards in America. But, if that happens, and heaven forbid, it might not be slow and gradual over many, many years. It could happen in a flash, as it has happened to, so it can happen to banks. It's happened to a couple other small countries. And so I was just trying to make the point that because there is some chance of something that bad happening, we got to get busy now. You just can't take the risk. And again, politicians tend to procrastinate and put it off, and in this situation, that's too dangerous.
Governor, speaking of the markets, a story kind of coming out today, this morning, is that we've talked in a general sense about Illinois businesses moving over here and some of the issues that are involved in that. If we could make it more specific right now, they're coming out of ChicagoBusiness.com yesterday and today is reports that the CME Group, where I used to trade, is thinking or is at least looking at moving out of the state. And here's one of the bloggers, a well-known blogger, says, so just how much is Indiana offering CME Group to move its headquarters and perhaps other operations to the Hoosier state? The figure in net tax savings is a mouth-watering $150 million a year. That's from a reliable source who claims to have obtained the information from Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels' office. Your comment on that, Governor?
Well, they're telling a falsehood. They didn't get anything from our office, and maybe they're protecting another source, but I guarantee, because nobody in our office would have such information, so that's a complete falsehood. Other than that, I don't have anything to say, Jim. We never talk about, we respect the confidence of any company of any size that's approached Indiana about or talked with us about bringing jobs to the state. As you know, it's job one with us. It's nothing we work on harder. But one way to not land jobs is to run your mouth too much when you're in conversation. So I just can't confirm anything about it, except I can tell you, whether it was CNA or somebody else, this guy, whoever he is, did not get any information from our office.
Okay, there it is. Governor, let's move on to page 164. It seems to be the page that has piqued the interest around here. All I have to do is read this passage, culturally close to Chicago, in both economics and politics, and with a reputation for governmental corruption and labor union aggression, our northwest corner is a place employers are more likely to flee than invest in. All I have to do is read that, and my phones will light up with huge criticism of you for saying that in a national stage, basically heaping some criticism on our corner of the state. How do you handle that one?
Well, it's nothing I haven't said now for quite some time. You know, Jim, you'll remember if nobody else does, I spent 5 years talking North Indiana up over and over, all over the state. We delivered an RDA. We delivered unprecedented money, and I kept making the point that I wanted to be its advocate. And every time I said that, I said there's a reciprocal responsibility to try to clean things up here, both the excesses of government, too many units, too much spending, and also the folks who, frankly, have broken the law many, many times. And, you know, there's absolutely nothing new about saying that. It does make it harder for us to bring business in. And so there wasn't anything new in what I said. And, you know, everybody jumped all over it, and 6 or 7 more people got indicted the very same day. So, you know, I'm sorry if telling the truth is irritated people, but tell me what's one factual misstatement in what I said. There isn't one.
Governor, a toll bridge for Klein Avenue, for or against?
Well, it depends on obviously depends on how good a deal it is for the community and what we're offered. I'm very encouraged. I think it was good. People in the area said, you know, let's keep looking for another answer to the original no bridge proposal or non-bridge. And I'm glad we took our time. We now have at least a couple alternatives, and they're being evaluated. I think we're going to get a recommendation within a very short time and try to move forward. But we won't know until we really see what's suggested. If a toll bridge with moderate tolls might be just fine. In order to make the math work, if tolls are higher, then you have to think twice because, you know, people might just drive around it on streets that are crowded anyway. Governor
Mitch Daniels on the line. Governor, back to your book. You use an interesting term here on page 23. You say that the debt that the retirement arrangements that our politics has made for older Americans amounts to a form of child abuse because they heap tons of debt on our children. Is there a way to fix that problem?
Yeah, of course, and we need to get going with it. We can fix it by while protecting completely, changing absolutely nothing. Jim, you know, one reason I don't want to wait is if we wait, we're going to have to fix it in a very wrenching and difficult way. If we move sooner, you can say to everybody who's now retired or everybody who's going to be in the next several years, hey, nothing changes for you. Relax, a deal's a deal. But we've got to have a new system starting out there in a few years for the younger people. You know, as you know, it's today's workers who pay for today's retirees. Americans were led to think something else for a long time, but nobody was ever putting money away for themselves. It was always going right out the back door to the workers of the day. And there's just not enough of them in the future. There's too many retirees compared to the number of workers. So we need a new system in both Social Security and Medicare, starting after several years, that we have a chance of paying for. If we don't make those changes, and not to mention bring the whole federal government and its costs down somewhere in the line, then young people are going to be handed a really cruel and unfair deal. And that's why I used that strong term I did.
Governor, what final question? And I know what do you want this book to do?
Well, I'm just trying to get the attention, really, of politicians on both sides and say, look, let's try to get people together, first of all, quit trying to divide them. And we've got one huge problem, an economy that's not growing, a private sector that's not growing fast enough, and bills we have committed to we cannot possibly pay. It threatens every one of us, from left to right, R to D, young to old, every race. And we ought to lay down our swords on other questions and work on this one before it hurts us all and kills the American dream. And to trust the American people enough to tell them the truth. I mean, we just discussed the question where I'm telling the truth, and some folks reacted badly, but the first step towards solving a problem is ending denial and facing the facts squarely. And I think the American people, like a big majority of Indiana, are fully capable of doing that.
Governor, thanks so much. On a personal level, how do you like making the national media circus?
Well, you know, it's not like I haven't done that kind of thing before. I mean, it's a little bit of a grind. I was awful happy to get back in the state. But I will say this, Jim. I mean, a part of my job, I've always said, was we wanted to lift Indiana up. Nobody knew who the heck we were. They confused us with Iowa or somebody. And a part of getting more jobs here, a big part, is simply getting us noticed. And I hadn't thought about it. It's not the reason I wrote the book, but there's no question that the discussion of the book and the examples in the book reflect well on Indiana. And if that catches the attention of even one business out there and they come in and hire some Hoosiers, I'm for it.
Thanks a lot, Governor. We appreciate it.
See you, Jim.
Talk to you.